Good morning, students.
So, contraception is a method or a system which allows intercourse yet prevents conception. And according to WHO, contraception prevents pregnancy by interfering with the normal process of ovulation, fertilization, and implantation. Birth control is a purely women's health measure. There are four methods of population control. First comes the contraceptives. In these contraceptives, we have so many methods. The first comes the natural or barrier methods. Next are oral contraceptives, injectables, IUCDs, and implants. And the second part is the emergency contraception. These emergency contraception will be dealt later in part 2 of your class. Medical termination of pregnancy or abortion, that is a separate topic that will be dealt by Dr. Manjula in abortions class. The fourth part is permanent sterilization, vasectomy or tubectomy, that will be dealt by me in third part of contraceptive class. So what is an ideal contraceptive? The ideal contraceptive should be easily available and should be cost effective. The choice of contraceptive should be left to the patient and the partner. And the adequate counseling should be done prior to the prescribing contraceptives, and the contraceptive must be compatible with the patient's general condition, her age, parity, the side effects, contraindications, advantages, and disadvantages all have to be explained well advanced to the patient, and they should be well ready to for regular follow-up. And the effectiveness of a contraceptive mainly depends upon the reliability or the failure rate. Lesser the failure rate, the most effective would be the contraceptive. And the reliability or the effectiveness of the contraceptive is measured by a particular index called a Pearl index. It is defined as the number of contraceptive failures per 100 women years. And Pearl index formula is number of pregnancies into 12 by number of women in the reproductive age group by number of months of exposure into 100. Coming to the methods of contraception, the first comes the natural methods of contraception. It is relatively easy, and only the woman has to be aware of her fertility pattern or the menstrual pattern. The first three are abstinence during the fertile phase, next is withdrawal or coitus interruptus, and the third is breastfeeding. Abstinence is nothing but the woman has to keep a check on her menstrual cycle. Suppose we think the woman has a 28 days menstrual cycle, the 14th day would be her ovulation period. So keeping in this mind, her ovulation can be predicted by 3 or 4 methods. The first is calendar or rhythm method. Next is mucus, billing or ovulation method. All three are same. Next is temperature and symptodermal method. Calendar or rhythm method, as I previously told, in a 28 days cycle, the ovulation normally occurs on the 14th day of cycle, but it may occur any time between 12th and 16th day. And as the woman has to abstain for around 1 week, that is 3 days prior to ovulation and 3 days after ovulation, total around 1 week. Why she has to obtain for 1 week? Because the spermatozoa deposited in the female genital tract have a life of around 3 days, and the ovum has a life of 1 day. So any intercourse between 11th and 7th day can result in pregnancy. This is the menstrual chart. For the convenience sake, the red zone is the safer zone to have intercourse, and the green zone is also the safer zone to have an intercourse. The blue zone, that is 18th to 19th day, that is roughly around 11 days the woman has to abstain. That is quite unacceptable by the couple. As a result, this calendar rhythm method has a high failure rate. So the failure rate, as I previously told, it is around 25 pregnancies per 100 women years. The failure rate, higher the failure rate, the less effective is the contraceptive method. Coming to the mucus, billing or ovulation method. This also, depending upon the menstrual cycle, the first 14 days of the menstrual pattern is under the influence of estrogen, and the next 14 days are under the influence of progesterone. So, and then under the first 14 days with the influence of progesterone, the mucus increases in quantity, becomes more slippery and elastic until a peak is reached, or LH peak. After the LH peak, the progesterone comes into picture, and under the influence of the progesterone, the mucus becomes thicker, scanty, and dry until the onset of menstruation. So, The woman is advised to have intercourse during the dry days and immediately after menstruation till the mucus is detected. Once the mucus is detected, she has to abstain first after sex. So actually this method also, because of the longer period of abstinence, the failure rate is high. Coming to temperature method. As I previously told, that after the LH peak, the progesterone comes into picture, and the progesterone has a thermogenic effect on the body. So in this temperature method, the woman has to keep a record of her basal body temperature. Recording basal body temperature is quite cumbersome for the patient because the woman has to get up from the bed. Soon after getting up from the bed, she has to record the temperature without passing urine, without getting down from the bed, without passing urine. She has to record the temperature. That would be quite difficult for the woman to follow regularly. As a result, this method also has a high failure rate. So this is the temperature method. Suppose this horizontal line is the basal body temperature after the LH peak. This vertical line, you assume it as a LH peak. After the LH peak, there will be a 1 degree slight rise in body temperature. This 1 degree peak in rise indicates the timing of ovulation. So the woman has to abstain from the sex after this 1 degree rise of basal body temperature till it comes to normal. Symptodermal method. Symptodermal method is a combination of calendar method and the temperature method. The first day of abstinence is subtracted is by 21 days of the length of the shortest menstrual cycle. So the woman has to keep a menstrual diary for the first 6 months of her cycle, and that indicates the first day of her menstrual period, and end of the fertile period is predicted by the use of basal body temperature chart. So the woman resumes intercourse 3 days after the dermal shift. This is also quite cumbersome, and the woman has to keep a record of her menstrual calendar, keep the basal body check. That is also very difficult for the woman to maintain all the for the 6 months. So the failure rate is also high in this method. So all these natural methods of contraception require longer period of abstinence, and these are not readily acceptable by the patient. These methods also do not apply if the woman is lactating or has irregular cycles or she has any fever or infections. Coming to next natural method of conception, that is called the withdrawal method or coitus interruptus. Coitus here takes place in a normal manner, but the penis is withdrawn immediately after ejaculation. Main cause of coitus interruptus failure is not due to ejaculation problem, but the prostatic fluid secreted in the ejaculate also contain active spermatozoa. As a result, the failure rate is also very high, 25 pregnancies per 100 women years, and this also pose a psychological burden to both the partners. And moreover, this does not protect against any natural sexual transmitted diseases or any other STDs. Coming to breastfeeding, breastfeeding is a natural boon for the mother who give exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. No water, no top feeds, no Cerelac, anything. The woman has to exclusively breastfeed the child for 6 months. Then only it gives a adequate protection. This is why, because the prolactin in the breast milk prevents the LH surge, and as a result, the women will have non-ovulatory cycles. So for the breastfeeding to be effective, the woman has to frequently feed the child. It is not the duration that is important, it is the frequency of the breastfeed. More preferably, the night feeds are important to have an adequate contraception. Next is persona. Persona method is testing like a urine pregnancy test. As a urine pregnancy test detects the levels of H in the urine sample, this persona kit measures the levels of estrone 3-glucuronide and LH in the morning urine sample. So dipping the test stick in the urine, if the green color indicates the conception is unlikely and the woman has safely have intercourse, in the red period the conception is likely, so woman has to abstain from the sex. The failure rate is around 6 pregnancies per 100 women years. So you better note down the failure rate for each contraceptive method. That will be a viva question for you. So natural methods are completed. Now we are moving to barrier methods of contraception. The first comes the male contraceptive that is condom. Condoms are used by the male partners. Previously, latex condoms are used. Now they are replaced by polyurethane condoms because of the longer duration and the more elasticity. Latex condoms are made up of rubber and they slip off easily and they tear off easily. As a result, the failure rate also increased. So now the latex condoms are replaced by polyurethane condoms, and the efficacy of these condoms increases only when they are used with any spermicidal agents. And the failure rate here is 10 to 14 pregnancies per 100 women years. So no need to separately elaborate about condoms. And apart from the contraception, the condoms also are used in several other purposes. They are used as a barrier in a TVCS probe in ultrasound. Then they can also be used in balloon tamponade in management of PPH, and post vasectomy, the uh, even after vasectomy, the permanent method of sterilization, the male partner has to use condoms for at least 30 ejaculates, because sperms are stored in the duct. And in the management of infertility, the male partner has anti-sperm antibodies, the partner is advised to use condoms at least for 3 months. And other benefits of condom is already know, it gives protection from STDs and HIV. This is a spotter of condom. It is a polyurethane condom. Next are spermicidal agents. The spermicide, coming to the second method, that is spermicidal agents. Spermicidal agents, when used alone, they do not offer any contraceptive benefit, and they offer a failure rate of around 30%, 30 pregnancies per 100 women years. So they have to be combined with one or other, the female contraceptive device or the male contraceptive device. The common spermicidal agents of use are nonoxynol 9, octoxynol 9, and menfegol. These are available in the form of foams, soluble pessaries, creams, jellies, and films. And the effectiveness of a spermicidal agent will be 1 to 2 hours after application, and they do have some side effects. The chronic use of spermicidal agents can cause vaginal ulceration, which can increase the HIV spread. Coming to female protective barriers, there are a wide variety of female protective barriers. The first one of is occlusive diaphragms. These provide a barrier in the vagina against direct insemination. The diaphragm is effective and again use it with a spermicidal agent. The woman needs initial training and insertion on the removal of the diaphragm. Sorry, 1 minute. The Dutch cap or the diaphragm is a dome-shaped diaphragm of thin rubber with a rubber-covered metal rim, which may be either watch spring or spiral ring. So this is the Dutch cap or the diaphragm. There is a rim where the concave side fits into the cervical end and the convexity is exposed outside. It is the easiest type of the cap for the patient to use, and these are not applicable if the women have a prolapse, cystocele, rectocele, recurrent urinary tract infections, or the woman is allergic to rubber or spermicidal agents. Next, the cervical cap. It fits closely to the cervix and is suitable when the cervix is long or firm. This is a picture of cervical cap. This cervical cap is used when the women have the previous contraindications of the Dutch or diaphragm cap, like it can be used in a case of prolapse or rectocele. And only one contraindication is chronic cervicitis, erosion, or any cervical lacerations. It doesn't fit properly. Next is Dumas cap. It looks same like a cervical plug. This is the Dumas cap. It is a cup-shaped rubber with a thickened rim which fits well into the vault of vagina so that it encloses the cervix. These all contraceptive methods, they plug the cervix and prevent the ascent of the sperms. Next is important one, Femshield or female condom. It has also name like a Fem or Femidom. It has the combined features of both diaphragm and a condom. It covers the entire vagina, cervix, as well as external genitalia. And also, it is highly protective against STDs, AIDS, and it can be removed immediately after intercourse. This is a picture of FemShield or Femidom. Apart from covering the cervix, it covers the entire external genitalia and it provides a barrier for entry of ascending STD infections and HIV. The advantages of the Femidom is coital independent and it can be worn well advanced in sexual act. It doesn't slip off easily or tear off easily, and the failure rate is expected to be very low. It is 5 pregnancies per 100 women years. Only one disadvantage with the Femilom is it is very expensive and it is not reusable. Coming to Today vaginal sponge, it contains 1 gram of nonoxynol. This is the picture of Today vaginal sponge. Previously, the vaginal contraceptives, the concave side fixed the cervix, but here the concave side is towards the cervix and the convex side is exposed to the exterior, and it is provided with the elastic band for easy removal. And it should be placed high in the vagina with concave side covering the cervix. It is effective for 24 hours and it is a one-time used equipment, and the failure rate is around 9 to 30 100 women years. So coming to all the barrier methods, the advantages of this both female and the male barrier methods, there will be instant return of fertility. The fertility will be reversible within 2 to 4 months. There is no toxicity except for the allergic reactions, no sexual decrease in sexual desire or libido. Only disadvantage will be scrotal swelling, sometimes reported with condoms. Now coming to the mechanical barrier methods of contraception, the first comes the intrauterine contraceptive devices. IUCDs, in short, is an effective, reversible and long-term method of contraception which does not require replacement for longer periods and does not interfere with sexual activity. The device is commonly made of polyethylene which is impregnated with barium sulfate to render it radio opaque, and they can be detected by ultrasound or a plain radiograph. There are 3 generations of IUCD. The first generation are Lippis loop. They are non-medicated. They're made up of polyurethane. Now they are obsolete. They are not at all used because the high risk of perforation. The second generation of IUCDs are copper inert devices, and the third now, which are commonly used now, are hormone-containing IUCDs. Each device has a nylon thread attached to its lower end, and its threads protrude to the cervical canal into the vagina, where it can be felt by the patient herself and the doctor while examining. Lippis loop, there is no need to discuss because they are obsolete now. Now coming to discussion of second generation of copper tees, that is, there are various varieties. The first is copper T200, copper 7, multi-load 375A, copper T380A, copper T220, and Nova T. And the copper wire surface of 200 to 250 mm is wrapped around the vertical stem of polypropylene frame. I'll show the pictures of copper T. This is copper T380A. See, these pictures will be asked as spotters for your exams. So this is the vertical stem, this is the horizontal stem. The vertical stem, the copper surface is round around, and in copper T380A, you have copper impregnated in the horizontal stem as well. This is copper T200. Here only the vertical stem is round with copper. This is multi-load 375A. These are 3 commercially available variants of copper T. One more variant is there, Nova T. Nova T, in addition to the copper, silver is added to increase the lifespan of the copper T. How the copper acts, why copper is chosen, and why not other metals? Because copper acts as a spermicide within the uterus, and the presence of copper, it acts at the level of fallopian tubes, it acts at the level of endometrium and then the cervical canal. In the fallopian tube, what happens, it is increases the prostaglandins and increase tubal motility is increased. As a result, the fertilized ovum is expelled out easily. And in the endometrium, it brings about the macrophages and engulf the sperms that enter into the uterine cavity. And in the cervix, they form a thick mucus plug to prevent the ascent of the sperms. In this way, this copper acts on the fallopian tube and the endometrium and on the cervix also. Now coming to the hormone-generated IUCDs, the first of it is progesterone. It is a T-shaped device carrying 38 milligrams of progesterone in silicone oil reservoir in the vertical stem, and it releases 65 micrograms of hormone per day. So the progesterone containing hormone devices, the action is mainly on the cervix. They make the cervical mucus plug and prevent the entry of the sperms apart from the action on the endometrium and fallopian tube. The hormone released in the uterus forms a thick plug of mucus at the cervical os and preventing the entry of the sperm. Apart from the cervical action, they also cause endometrial atrophy and they prevent ovulation by 40%. Next is Levonorva. Levonorva, it contains 60 micrograms of levonorgestrel. See, previously progesterone releases around 65 micrograms of hormone per day. Compared to this, the Levonorva and Mirena, they releases a low dose of hormone, so the side effects of any progesterone-induced side effects are reduced. It releases only 20 micrograms of hormone per day. And also, as a result of the less hormone released during this, the lifetime also increases. Progesterone that has to be replaced every 1 year, whereas the Levonorva or the Mirena, they have to be replaced every 5 years. And the pregnancy rate also comes down to 3 pregnancies per 100 women years. And the only one disadvantage with the hormone-containing IUCDs are the chances of ectopic pregnancy is 6 to 9-fold higher in women compared to the copper T IUCDs. Why? Because the hormone-containing IUCDs, they act on the ciliary epithelium of the fallopian tubes, which impair the ciliary motility and halt the expulsion of the sperms. So, expulsion of the fertilized egg. So the fertilized egg gets implanted in the fallopian tube itself. As a result, the ectopic pregnancy chances are higher. So Mirena is an equally substitute like a permanent method of sterilization. The failure rate comes down to as low as 0.1 to 0.4% per 100 women years. The Mirena contains 52 milligrams of levonorgestrel and releases a hormone of 20 micrograms daily. The life of Mirena is around 5 years. Hormone-containing IUCDs, apart from contraceptive effects, they offer other benefits also. So this Mirena, Levonorva, progesterone, they are applicable only when the uterus is of normal size, shape, and these are not used in a case of abnormally shaped uterus like fibroid uterus or adenomyotic uterus. So for these, the frameless IUCDs fibroplans are introduced. They release very less hormone and they attain the shape of the uterine cavity. So they doesn't have a vertical stem, horizontal stem, anything. They have 6 copper beads or hormone beads that can be hung to the fundus of the uterus, and they just lay hanging, and they have a tail at the cervical end that can be easily palpated and removed by the examining physician. The Gyneflex adapts the shape of the uterine cavity. It is smaller in size and they have decreased complications like pain, bleeding, ectopic pregnancy, and there are less chances of expulsion compared to the conventional IUCDs. Coming to the other uses of IUCDs, apart from contraception, these IUCDs are used to prevent readhesion of the uterine endometrial cavity. If the uterus is separated for any uterine septum or Asherman syndrome, the hormonal IUCD Mirena, apart from contraception, it gives relief in women who are suffering from menorrhagia and dysmenorrhea. They can be also used in women as a hormone replacement therapy in postmenopausal women. In a woman on tamoxifen for breast cancer, Mirena can be used to counteract the endometrial hyperplasia. Advantages of the IUCDs. It is coital independent. One-time insertion gives protection for longer period, and the restores fertility within 6 months of its removal, and almost 90% of the women conceive within a year. There are no systemic ill effects like oral contraceptives. There is no adverse effect on lactation. And one more thing, the copper T is inserted, which is supplied by the government of India free of cost in India. And these IUCDs also have some complications. Like by other methods of contraception, they can't be self-inserted. A medical personnel or a paramedical is required to screen and insert an IUCD. They do have some complications at the time of insertion and immediately after insertion, and late complications are also seen with IUCD. First, immediate complications are difficulty in insertion, vasovagal attack, and uterine cramps. Early complications, expulsion will be there in 2 to 5% cases, and sometimes the IUCD may perforate into the abdominal cavity, and the incidence is around 1 to 2%. And the woman after IUCD insertion may complain of spotting, menorrhagia, and dysmenorrhea, and there will be chances of vaginal infection and actinomycosis if not proper asepsis is not maintained during the time of insertion of IUCD. The late complications are PID or pelvic inflammatory diseases reported in 2 to 5% of cases, and pregnancy, ectopic pregnancy as previously told, and the woman may complain of chronic menorrhagia and dysmenorrhea. So most of the women come to the OPDs to remove IUCD for the main complaint of menorrhagia and dysmenorrhea. And this menorrhagia and dysmenorrhea can be treated by conservative management simply by giving supportive care, anti-inflammatory agents, and hematinic support. There is no need to remove the IUCD if the woman complains of menorrhagia or dysmenorrhea. So, when not to insert an IUCD? When you suspect a pregnancy, you have to first confirm it in an ultrasound and then insert an IUCD. And if any previous infection is there, you have to treat the infection first and then insert an IUCD. The presence of fibroids, there is more chances of expulsion. So any abnormal shaped uterus, you have to first make a what you have to say. First, you have to evaluate the endometrium and see abnormal shape of the uterus. If it is any chances of midfield, better to prescribe them with other contraceptive methods. And if the patient has long-standing menorrhagia and dysmenorrhea, you have to keep in IUCD after proper counseling. And you have to treat severe anemia before insertion of IUCD. And if the women have any comorbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, or heart disease, they have to be well medically controlled with medication prior to the insertion of IUCD. If there is any history of previous ectopic pregnancy, it's better not to insert IUCD. And this IUCD has to be inserted with caution in scarred uterus because there is more chances of perforation of the uterus on the scar inside if IUCD is not inserted properly. IUCD is generally not advisable for unmarried and nulliparous women because during the time of insertion, we may introduce some ascending infection and that increases the chance of PID, and women may suffer from infertility in future. So better not insert IUCDs in unmarried or nulliparous women. The choice there will be oral contraceptive pills. And levonorgestrel IUCDs are a strict contraindication in a woman with a family history of breast cancer or the woman is suffering from breast cancer. For this abnormally shaped and septate uterus, we have a newer IUCDs like Fibroplans, Gyneflex. They can be prescribed, but normal Mirena or copper Ts are not generally advised. So this is an important short topic or a short answer question for you. What happens if the IUCD is misplaced? This is a common complaint where the women come to the OPDs. It is defined as a condition where the tail of IUCD is not seen through the os. What are the chances? The uterus has enlarged, the woman has conceived with the copper T in situ, or the thread has curled inside the uterus, the perforation has occurred, or the IUCD is buried in the myometrium, or it has been expelled. Then this has to be confirmed with the help of a plain radiograph or ultrasound shows whether the IUCD is in situ or it has expelled outside. If it is still in the cavity, if the tails are not visible, you have to be able to retrieve with the help of a Shirodkar's hook. If Shirodkar hook is not available, a simple straight artery can be introduced into the external nose, and if the tails are visible, you can pull it out. And even if that is also you find it difficult, you can just curate the endometrial cavity and the copper T will come out. And of these all, these are blind procedures. The hook or the artery forceps, these are blind procedures. The ideal one is a hysteroscopy. We can visually guide the hysteroscope inside the uterine cavity and it can remove the IUCD hook, and any perforation can be detected with the help of a hysteroscope. So if any misplaced IUCD is there, hysteroscopy is the ideal alternative. What happens if the woman becomes pregnant with IUCD? There are chances that women may become pregnant with IUCD. It occurs in 1 to 3% per 100 women years. First, if the woman misses her period with IUCD in situ, you have to first rule out ectopic pregnancy, particularly if the woman has an insertion of progestaside, because progestaside has a high chances of ectopic pregnancy. And also, if the woman wants to continue the pregnancy, you have to explain that there are chances of infection and the woman has a high chance of abortion and preterm labor. See, all the queries will be answered at the end of the class. Next, coming to the management. Suppose if the woman becomes pregnant with IUCD and if the threads are visible, after counseling the patient, you can remove the IUCD. If the threads are not visible, you have to counsel both the partners and explain the risk of infection, perforation, and abortion. Everything has to be explained. And IUCD per se doesn't have any teratogenic effect. It doesn't harm the baby except for the Mirena or the hormone containing IUCDs. The copper T doesn't have any teratogenic effects. If the woman has a hormone impregnated IUCD, then it has to be terminated. Suppose if the woman wishes to have continue the pregnancy can be continued after taking the risk consent of infection, perforation, and abortion. Thank you, class. I hope you understood.